Welcome. Today we're going to talk about books that I have not finished, books that I started and that I was excited about and that I don't know, just didn't work for me. Because I don't finish every book I read, and I've actually this year I have not muscled through more books than any other year so far. And that's only 4, so, not a lot. But buckle up. Let's talk about the books that I didn't think were worth finishing. Now, luckily, at least 3 of these books I got from the library. So even though I didn't finish them, it didn't cost me anything except returning it to the library. So that's good. The first one we're going to talk about is In the Plex, which was a couple months back, and it is about the Google Plex. And it was just super boring. I'm working on a Walter Isaacson biography right here about Einstein. And I've read Innovators, another Walter Isaacson book. Kind of a similar idea, right? Like how did computers form is what Innovators about, and about, I guess, a little bit more about how collaboration is important with invention of things. And so In the Plex is like a history of what Google has done, and it was super boring. Like, it was just terrible. The whole thing was like dry reporting of boring stuff in a boring way that was boring. So I came really close to finishing this one. I actually got within, I think, 2 chapters of the end, and then I was going by the library and thought, no, I'm not going to read this. And it was so boring that the authors, and I forget the author's name right now, but their next book on Facebook, I had sitting at the library for me, and I looked at it, I was like, nope, too boring. Not going to read from you anymore. It was just so boring. I think the topic could have been interesting, but the author just didn't do a good job of it. Next up, Why I Read. I like books about books, kind of meta. Books about the enjoyment of reading. I just like them. I'm trying to look. I got a little one up there. I can't find the name of it right now. I'd Rather Be Reading by Bogle. I can't catch the first name on it, but I'd Rather Be Reading. Very much enjoyed that book. But Why I Read, I probably was over my head. That's what we'd say. It was just over my head. Every reference to any book in there was about stuff that I was like, I've never read any of these books. I have no idea what you're talking about. So your analogy, you're like, oh, so it's like such and such reading and such a book. I was like, no, and sure. I've never read it. I have no idea. And it was just every page was like that. I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I've never read any of these books. I've heard of some of them, but I've never read any of them at all. And so it was just boring. It was talking a lot about classics, a lot about plays, a lot about just more literature as opposed to books. I don't know what the difference is. One seems hoity-toity, I suppose. So if you read a bunch of that stuff, maybe you'll get Why I Read. But I didn't get it because I've never read a lot of that stuff, and I don't care to. So I put it down. I got maybe 2 chapters in, and I skipped ahead a couple chapters. We'll just try just a random chapter up front. And I got 3 pages into that. I was like, nope. And I was like, well, let's try one more chapter. And I skipped ahead a little bit and tried another chapter. I was like, no, this isn't it. And I just returned it. It was not a good book to me. So I've actually marked all these books get marked as read on Goodreads for me because I've read as much as I'm going to read of them. Next up, 48 Laws of Power. I actually have this book. I bought this book. I started taking notes in it. You can see my tabs here. 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. And it was just felt slimy. That's it. So many of the chapters talked about overcoming your adversary and was very adversarial and very you have power to wield it over other people. That was the tone in a lot of it. And I don't like it. It sucks because there's some, on the surface, some of these rules seem good. Just flipping to the beginning, Law 42 seems like a good one, right? It's strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter. Basically, there's one person causing trouble, and if you take care of them, then everyone else is gone. I like some of them, on the surface at least, but I don't know. It's like Jordan Peterson. I read his rules, his 12 rules for whatever life, and I think, oh yeah, these rules sound good, and I started reading them. I'm like, these are terrible. All right, Law 15, crush your enemy totally. All right, Law 14, pose as a friend, work as a spy. So pretend to be a friend, but be a spy to have power over other people. And I get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit. It just seems like old school management thinking in here. And so he says, I read all these old books from decades, hundreds of years past. So yeah, it's in 98. And it just felt like old management style thinking where you're out there to like crush everybody and everything around you. And that this wasn't, no, not for me. That's not how I'm going to run my business. I mean, it's only me, so I don't like have to have power over other people. But I decidedly make sure my clients have lots of power over me and that they could leave anytime, because that seems like the best way to do things, because it's actually in their best interest. And that's my job, to make sure it's in their best interest, not in mine. 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. When my local used bookstore is taking returns, because they're not right now, totally going back. I bought this from them. It's used. It was used. Oh, I thought there was a sticker in the back here. Oh, I still got the little tag here. Well, that's good. Yeah, bought it from them, brand new. Not interested in it. I totally had a sticker. You can see the mark. Oh, there's this. It's right there. I bought it for $34. And I've actually read Mastery by Robert Greene and really liked it. But this was not a good one. Finally, The City We Became. I got this one digitally from the library, and that may be part of why I didn't like it. I don't love reading digitally anymore, especially on an iPad. And Libby doesn't work on my Kindle, so the e-ink screen is just far better for reading. The City We Became. Excellent premise. I read it and I was like, oh, that sounds like it could be really, like, oh, that sounds like a good premise. Like the city, without really a ton of spoilers, the city becomes like a living organism when it gets to a certain point, and there's like embodiments of the city in people, and they have to fight this other thing that doesn't want the city to be this living organism. I really like it, and I definitely, as I talk about it, as I see it, I think like, oh, this could really work. It just didn't work for me. I just kept reading. I was like, this is boring. I don't feel invested in these characters. I don't care. It just wasn't interesting. So I returned it early. I don't know, maybe got like 30% of the way through it, marked it as read, because that is all I'm reading of it, and ranked it low for me. But I can definitely see with that book, specifically with that book, I can really see like if you knew New York as well, because it's about New York, then it would be like more real to you. Like you'd get into it more because you had seen the city, you know the city. But I don't know the city. Never been to New York. No plans to go there. Don't really care about New York. It sounds like the antithesis of what I want to do, how I want to live my life. I like to, 2 blocks to farmland, and it's a pretty slow pace, and I can like know all the shop owners. Like that sounds like what I want. Right? I see the mayor walking sometimes, and I just chat. Hey, how's it going, man? I see the former mayor. I know most of I can see most of the counselors when I walk around. Right? Like you find interesting connections between like the coffee shop owner and my daughter's teacher. Oh, they're brothers, actually. Well, I didn't know that. And you just find these things out all the time. And I like that in the small town, and I have no interest to go to New York. So it was this one actually I would recommend again. I would say like it is something worth reading. I can definitely see, as I read, I can totally see how people would like this. It's just not for me. City We Became, I kind of say nah to it. Not one I liked, but maybe it's for you. So in 2020, those are the 4 books that I just didn't read, didn't finish. Mark them as read on Goodreads, because you're getting that's as much as I'm putting into them. Yeah, and I will see. I have enjoyed more of my reading. Einstein's really good. I'm reading The End of Average just over my shoulder there, in red. And I'm going to do a review in a minute on The Inconvenient Indian. Good book. So good reading so far this year, but those are 4 that I was just like, no, not going to read them. If you liked this video, you can give me a thumbs up. If you loved it, you can subscribe below. Hit the bell, because then YouTube actually lets you know about the videos, but make sure your notifications are off on devices, because you should be reading and doing other stuff like hanging out with your kids. If you really loved it, you can go over to patreon.com/CurtisMcHale and support the channel. Just help more book content, more tech content, more me. You always need more me in your life, don't you? Have a good day.